On certain days, the echoes of football history feel less like distant memories and more like physical sensations, a phantom thud, a sticky grip, a sudden, jarring pull. We often see the game today, a finely tuned spectacle, but its path was paved with moments of raw, unbridled physicality that would be unimaginable in our modern era. How did the sport transform from a gladiatorial contest where almost anything went to the highly regulated ballet we witness now? What did it cost the players along the way, and what lessons did the league learn? This story explores the evolution of player safety and fair play through three notorious techniques and substances that once defined the rugged identity of the game, techniques that were eventually deemed too dangerous or too advantageous to remain a part of the sport. If you enjoy stepping back into these football stories with me, feel free to like the video and subscribe for more documentaries like this. We begin with a move that was as simple as it was brutal, the head slap. It was a technique where a defensive lineman would strike an offensive lineman squarely on the side of the helmet with devastating force. This unexpected blow often caused the offensive linemen to lose their balance, disrupting their stance and making them forget their assignments. The impact could also induce immediate disorientation, leaving them vulnerable to the pass rusher. Deacon Jones, a legendary Hall of Fame pass rusher for the Los Angeles Rams, perfected the head slap, making it his signature and most feared weapon. Jones articulated two primary goals for his tactic, physically jarring the offensive linemen to bring their hands down from a blocking position, and more importantly, mentally breaking their spirit. He famously remarked that one could take all the fight out of an opponent by beating him with violence before the whistle even blew. This philosophy underscored the psychological warfare at play during every snap. Younger defensive players across the league quickly adopted the head slap, eager to replicate the success of the iconic Jones. The National Football League in the 1960s and early 1970s allowed the head slap without penalty, reflecting an era that openly celebrated intense physical contact and saw violence as a core, marketable aspect of its appeal. Football then was a spectacle of raw power and brute force. However, the league's perspective began to shift as more became known about the human brain. Growing scientific understanding of concussions and the increasing awareness of chronic trauma suffered by former players after their careers started changing the conversation. This mounting evidence directly influenced the NFL's approach to player welfare. In 1977, the NFL officially banned the head slap, recognizing its inherent dangers and potential for long-term harm. Today, any head slap or similar contact is strictly penalized as an illegal hands-to-the-face infraction, costing the offending team 15 yards. Deacon Jones' powerful and iconic signature move was permanently retired from legal play, signifying a landmark shift in the game's regulatory framework. Players who faced Jones and endured his head slap often recount it as a defining and impactful moment in their careers, a testament to its effectiveness and severity. The head slap serves as a stark historical example of the NFL's evolving understanding of player safety and the critical long-term health consequences associated with certain playing techniques. Its prohibition in 1977 marked a pivotal moment, signaling a new era of greater regulation aimed at protecting players from unnecessary physical harm. Another controversial element that stirred debate about fair play was stickum, an adhesive substance used by players to enhance their grip. When it first emerged in the league, stickum was not specifically illegal, operating in a regulatory gray area. The substance made players' hands incredibly sticky, providing an unparalleled grip on the football, which offered a distinct advantage. Fred Biletnikoff, the legendary wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders, was famously associated with stickum, reportedly using so much that his arms would appear visibly coated in the sticky residue. Yet, perhaps the most prominent user was Lester Hayes, a Pro Bowl cornerback, also of the Raiders. Hayes applied stickum not just to his hands, but liberally to his forearms, to towels he carried, and even to his socks, maximizing its effect. Hayes' prolific use of stickum coincided with his incredible 13 interceptions during the 1980 season, a career high that many attributed, in part, to his enhanced grip. As the use of stickum became more widespread and its impact more undeniable, opposing teams began to voice strong complaints. Photographic evidence of players visibly covered in the substance started circulating, fueling the controversy. In 1981, the NFL officially banned stickum and all similar adhesive substances, ending its brief but impactful reign. Stickum remains a banned substance in the National Football League to this day, a clear indication of the league's enduring commitment to competitive balance. Modern NFL gloves, with their advanced grip technology, are sometimes compared to Stickum, prompting discussions about artificial advantages. However, these gloves are legally sanctioned, representing a difference in marketing and product development rather than rule-breaking. The ban on Stickum clearly demonstrated the league's determination to maintain fair play and prevent any artificial enhancements that could unfairly boost a player's performance. Its use evolved into a significant controversy, raising fundamental questions about competitive advantage and the true spirit of the game. The sheer effectiveness of Stickum, especially in improving catching and interception rates, made its prohibition inevitable. The ongoing development of high-grip gloves, following the Stickum ban, illustrates the persistent tension between technological advancement in equipment and the regulatory efforts to preserve a level playing field in professional sports. Finally, we arrive at the horse collar tackle, a maneuver that brought down ball carriers with a brutal efficiency and often catastrophic results. A horse collar tackle involves a defender pulling a ball carrier backward by the back of their shoulder pads or the collar of their jersey. This sudden, forceful backward tug frequently causes the ball carrier's knees to buckle and their ankles to twist unnaturally as they hit the ground. Roy Williams, a hard-hitting safety, was a player particularly known for frequently and effectively employing the horse collar tackle throughout his career. However, a specific incident in 2004 brought the technique into sharp focus. Terrell Owens, a prominent NFL star and wide receiver, suffered a broken leg as a direct result of a horse collar tackle executed by Williams. This severe injury to Owens served as a critical turning point, starkly highlighting the inherent danger and the increasing prevalence of horse collar tackles across the league. In response to this growing concern for player safety, the National Football League officially banned the horse collar tackle in 2005. Grabbing and pulling a player down from the back of the pads or jersey inside the collar now results in an automatic 15-yard penalty. Without question, the horse collar tackle ban was one of the very first rules implemented by the NFL primarily for the explicit purpose of player safety. Rather than for broader considerations of sportsmanship or conduct, this pivotal prohibition initiated a significant trend, leading to the implementation of numerous other injury prevention rules within the league in subsequent years. The rule change unequivocally demonstrated the NFL's increasing commitment to player well-being and its proactive efforts to reduce high-risk plays. Before its ban, the horse collar was a legal, albeit dangerous, tackling method often used to bring down fast-moving and elusive players. The very visual and often gruesome nature of the injuries resulting from horse collar tackles likely contributed to the urgency and speed of its implementation. This specific rule directly targets the mechanism of injury, aiming to prevent the twisting and hyperextension of joints that was so often caused by the tackle. The enforcement of the horse collar tackle rule is stringent, with penalties consistently applied, reflecting the seriousness of its intent. The implementation of this safety rule clearly reflects a broader cultural shift within football, unequivocally prioritizing player health over aggressive play that carries significant injury risk. The horse collar tackle rule stands distinct from other rules governing player conduct or competitive fairness, as its sole purpose is injury prevention, marking a clear line in the sand for player protection. The league, in its long history, has always sought to maintain strict control over player behavior and expressions, especially when those expressions spill onto the field in the form of celebrations. In the early 2000s, end zone celebrations became increasingly elaborate, drawing significant attention from the league offices who viewed some of them as going too far. One pivotal moment arrived in 2003 when Joe Horn of the New Orleans Saints scored a touchdown and, in a flash of ingenuity, pulled a hidden flip phone from the goalpost padding to mimic taking a call. This iconic, spontaneous act immediately captivated fans but drew the swift and stern condemnation of the NFL. Joe Horn received a $30,000 fine for his flip phone celebration, an amount that underscored the league executives' outrage over what they perceived as a flagrant breach of decorum and a challenge to their authority. Around the same time, another player, Terrell Owens, became known for his various elaborate celebrations, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. Owens famously pulled a Sharpie from his sock to autograph a football and then gave it to a fan, a moment of direct engagement that resonated with many supporters. He also celebrated on the Dallas Cowboys star at midfield, an act seen by many as disrespectful to a rival team and its iconic home. Another memorable celebration by Terrell Owens involved miming pom-poms from a cheerleader, adding theatrical flair that further divided opinion. The increasing frequency and sheer creativity of celebrations by players like Horn and Owens inevitably led the NFL to implement stricter rules to curb such displays. The league officially banned the use of props, any objects brought onto the field for celebration, and any celebrations deemed pre-planned or excessive. This period swiftly became commonly referred to as the "No Fun League" era by disgruntled players and many fans who felt the spirit of the game was being stifled. During this restrictive time, players were primarily restricted to spiking the ball as their main acceptable form of celebration after a score. Any celebration beyond a simple, immediate ball spike would often result in a flag, a significant fine, and further disciplinary action, sending a clear message about the limits of player expression. In more recent years, the NFL has relaxed its celebration rules to some extent, responding to fan feedback and a desire to showcase player personalities. Players are now permitted to dance with teammates and engage in group routines, fostering a sense of team camaraderie. Even simulated acts, such as fake CPR administered to a teammate, are now allowed as part of celebrations, indicating a shift towards embracing entertainment value. However, the use of props in celebrations remains strictly banned, a lingering legacy of the No Fun League era. Players who might consider hiding a cell phone or similar props are consistently warned of potential game check forfeitures, a severe financial penalty that acts as a strong deterrent. The NFL's evolving stance on celebrations reflects a constant balance between maintaining order, upholding what it perceives as the game's integrity, and allowing player personality to show through. The No Fun League era, it seems, was a direct response to a perceived loss of control by the league over player self-expression, a chapter in a long-running story. While the league grappled with celebrations, another critical area of player safety was demanding attention: the brutal reality of kickoff returns. The wedge block was a long-standing technique used on kickoff returns, involving 3 or 4 large linemen running shoulder-to-shoulder upfield in a tight formation. The primary purpose of the wedge block was to create a clear, unobstructed path for the kick returner by clearing out opposing coverage players who raced downfield. Coverage players were expected, by the very nature of the play, to run directly into the human wall formed by the wedge at full speed. Collisions resulting from the wedge block were frequently brutal and utterly devastating, often causing severe injuries such as compressed spines, snapped necks, and helmets flying off from the sheer impact. By the late 2000s, the NFL identified an increasing problem with concussions, noting with grave concern that more concussions were occurring on kickoffs than any other single play in football. Recognizing the inherent danger, in 2009, the NFL officially banned the traditional wedge block as a multiplayer formation. Current rules restrict kickoff returns to a maximum of 2 players forming a wedge, significantly reducing the mass and force of the collisions. The ban on the wedge block was a significant measure aimed squarely at enhancing player safety during kickoffs, acknowledging the severe risks involved. This modification of the wedge block rule was also an initial, cautious step in the NFL's broader, long-term strategy to gradually reduce or potentially phase out kickoffs entirely. The league's decisive actions concerning the wedge block signify a proactive approach to mitigating the most dangerous aspects of special teams play, often described as the Wild West of football due to its chaotic and high-impact nature. The reduction in wedge players directly decreased the force and frequency of mass collisions, leading to a demonstrably safer play environment for all involved. The NFL's continued consideration of phasing out kickoffs altogether underscores the persistent safety concerns associated with the play, even with rule modifications in place. The wedge block rule change highlighted the league's increasingly data-driven approach to identifying and addressing specific injury hotspots within the game, moving beyond anecdotal evidence. The history of the wedge block thus demonstrates a gradual evolution from a permissible, if inherently dangerous, tactic to a strictly regulated play, reflecting changing attitudes towards player risk and a growing emphasis on long-term health and safety. While the NFL was navigating the physical dangers of the game, a different kind of challenge emerged from player expressions and behaviors, particularly in the realm of touchdown celebrations. The NFL has historically sought to maintain strict control over player behavior and expressions, especially in celebrations, viewing them as potential sources of unsportsmanlike conduct or distractions from the core competition. This inherent tension between player individuality and league decorum reached a boiling point in the early 2000s as end-zone celebrations became increasingly elaborate, creative, and undeniably attention-grabbing. A pivotal moment that catalyzed the league's crackdown occurred in 2003, courtesy of New Orleans Saints wide receiver Joe Horn. After scoring a touchdown, Horn sprinted to the goalpost padding where he had cleverly stashed a flip phone. Pulling it out, he mimicked taking a call in the end zone, a move that instantly became iconic. While many fans found it entertaining, NFL executives were far from amused. The incident with Joe Horn generated significant outrage among them, viewing it as a blatant disregard for decorum and a dangerous precedent for the introduction of props onto the field. Joe Horn received a hefty $30,000 fine for his flip phone celebration, a clear signal from the league that such antics would not be tolerated. Horn was not alone in pushing the boundaries of celebration. Throughout this era, wide receiver Terrell Owens became almost synonymous with audacious and highly theatrical displays. Owens was known for various elaborate celebrations, including pulling a Sharpie from his sock after a touchdown to autograph the football and then give it to a fan in the stands, a move that, while engaging for the fan, was seen by the league as an unacceptable use of a prop and a pre-planned stunt. Another memorable and provocative celebration by Terrell Owens involved him famously celebrating directly on the Dallas Cowboys star at midfield, not once, but twice during a game, much to the fury of Cowboys players and coaches. He also once mimed pom-poms, playfully mocking a cheerleader, further demonstrating his flair for the dramatic and his willingness to provoke. The increasing frequency and creativity of celebrations by players like Horn and Owens, perceived by the league as a growing carnival-like atmosphere, led the NFL to implement stricter rules. In an effort to rein in what they saw as excessive and undisciplined behavior, the NFL banned the use of props, objects, and pre-planned celebrations. This period quickly became commonly referred to as the "No Fun League" era by players and fans alike, a moniker that perfectly captured the widespread sentiment of frustration and restriction. During the No Fun League era, players were primarily restricted to spiking the ball as their main acceptable form of celebration. Any celebration beyond a simple ball spike would result in immediate disciplinary action, typically a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct, followed by a fine, and potentially further disciplinary measures. The message was clear: creativity and elaborate expressions were out, conformity and restraint were in. This era was a direct response to a perceived loss of control by the league over player self-expression, an attempt to reassert authority and uphold what it considered the integrity of the game. However, recognizing that stifling player personality might be detrimental to the game's appeal, especially in an era of increasing fan engagement through social media, the NFL has, in recent years, relaxed its celebration rules to some extent. This shift reflects a more nuanced understanding of the balance between maintaining order and allowing player personality to show, acknowledging that a degree of self-expression can actually enhance the fan experience. Players are now permitted to dance with teammates and engage in group routines, often leading to viral moments that showcase the camaraderie and individuality within teams. Even simulated acts, such as fake CPR administered to a downed teammate or other humorous skits, are now allowed as part of celebrations, provided they are not overtly offensive or excessively long. Despite this more lenient approach, certain lines remain firmly drawn. Crucially, the use of props in celebrations remains strictly banned. The lesson from Joe Horn's flip phone still resonates, and the league is unwavering on this point. Players who might consider hiding a cell phone or similar props are sternly warned of severe consequences, including potential game check forfeitures, underscoring the NFL's continued commitment to preventing the introduction of external objects into celebrations. The evolution of the NFL's stance on celebrations, from stringent prohibition to a more relaxed but still regulated approach, mirrors its broader journey in navigating the complexities of player safety and expression. Like the wedge block, it represents a dynamic tension between the league's desire for control and the inherent human element of competition, spectacle, and individual personality that defines professional football. The National Football League, for many decades, maintained an intensely strict approach to its uniform policies, regulating every minute aspect from the fit of a jersey to the very cleats players wore, dictating acceptable colors, laces, and even the size and placement of logos. This historical stance meant players had exceptionally minimal freedom regarding their personal footwear choices, a policy rooted deeply in the league's desire for a unified, professional presentation. Despite these rigid guidelines, some players dared to push the boundaries. Chad Johnson and Marshawn Lynch, for instance, famously attempted to wear custom cleats featuring bright, non-team colors like gold and red, often adorned with cartoon logos or other personalized artwork. These bold attempts to inject individuality into their attire consistently resulted in swift and significant fines from the league offices, signaling the NFL's unwavering commitment to its rules. Marshawn Lynch's all-gold cleats became particularly notorious after initially receiving a stern warning from the league not to wear them again. He defiantly chose to sport them once more. The league's resolve was clear. Before a crucial kickoff, a referee directly informed Marshawn Lynch that he would not be permitted to play if he did not immediately change his custom cleats, a direct threat to his participation. Faced with this ultimatum, Marshawn Lynch complied, swapping his signature footwear for regulation issue before the game began. Years later, in 2019, Odell Beckham Jr. continued this tradition of sartorial rebellion, wearing custom cleats designed to resemble the iconic Joker shoes, complete with striking red and purple hues and glitter elements. Mid-game, the NFL once again demonstrated its unwavering enforcement, issuing a notice to Odell Beckham Jr., requiring him to change his cleats at halftime or face removal from the game. Today, the NFL has evolved slightly, now allowing for some creative expression with cleats during pre-game warm-ups, a small concession to player individuality. However, once the whistle blows for game time, player cleats must strictly adhere to their team's base colors, ensuring a consistent visual identity. Crazy gradients, intricate anime decals, and certainly any light-up soles on cleats remain absolutely prohibited during live play. Reinforcing the league's foundational policy. This strict uniform policy on cleats, extending its reach into player fashion choices, is often cited by fans and commentators as a key reason for the league's no-fun league perception. The rules are fundamentally designed to maintain a professional and unified appearance across all players, thereby limiting individualistic statements that might detract from the collective brand. The fines and warnings issued serve as a clear mechanism to enforce the league's authority over player attire, extending its control even down to the most minute details of their game day presentation. The slight relaxation for warm-ups indicates a minor concession to player self-expression, yet strict game time rules undeniably persist. This ongoing evolution of cleat rules reflects a deeper, continuous tension between a player's inherent desire for personal branding and the league's overarching control over its meticulously crafted image. For many years, the NFL maintained these comprehensive, strict uniform policies, all aimed at presenting a meticulously clean look to its global audience, which often meant severely restricting individual player expressions. In the 1980s, Jim McMahon, the charismatic quarterback for the Chicago Bears, frequently began wearing headbands emblazoned with various brand logos, personal slogans, and on one memorable occasion, even the word Rozelle, a direct and provocative challenge to then-Commissioner Pete Rozelle. True to form, Jim McMahon was fined by the league on every single occasion he wore these non-compliant headbands, demonstrating the NFL's zero-tolerance policy for insubordination. Eventually, the NFL responded by imposing a sweeping ban on all writing, logos, or personal messages of any kind on headbands worn during games. The bans extended beyond headbands and cleats, encompassing off-brand logos on various accessories, visible undershirts with any form of writing, personal bandanas, and even towels and hand warmers not officially approved by the league. Any item of attire, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, that was not an officially issued part of the team's uniform kit, was deemed illegal and subject to penalty. The extreme strictness of these regulations meant that players could perform brilliantly on the field, excelling in gameplay, yet still face significant financial penalties for minor uniform infractions, such as simply wearing a non-team issued Nike headband. These numerous restrictions powerfully illustrate the NFL's deep-seated control over every aspect of a player's appearance, viewing it as absolutely integral to the league's brand image and overall perception. The specific prohibition against the word Rozelles on Jim McMahon's headband highlights a direct, personal clash between a player's desire for expression and the formidable authority of the league. Similarly, the font violation ruling for Chad Johnson's jersey, which sought to display Ocho Cinco's before his legal name change, further demonstrates the incredibly granular level of control the NFL exerted over even the most precise uniform details. These widespread bans were part of a broader, concerted effort to prevent players from using their uniforms as personal advertising space or as platforms for any non-league approved messages. Ultimately, this uniform tyranny reflects a profound corporate emphasis on consistency and brand control, often at the expense of individual player identity and personal flair. In stark contrast to the strictness surrounding apparel, the historical jersey number rules in the NFL meticulously dictated specific numerical ranges based entirely on a player's position on the field. Quarterbacks, for instance, were traditionally assigned numbers from 1 to 19, instantly identifiable by their digits. Running backs typically wore numbers from 20 to 49, while wide receivers could wear numbers from 10 to 19 or 80 to 89, providing some limited flexibility. Linemen were almost exclusively assigned numbers from 50 to 79, solidifying their role on the field, and linebackers consistently wore numbers in the 50s or 90s. Defensive backs were given numbers from 20 to 49, often overlapping with running backs. These precise numerical assignments served a practical purpose, primarily assisting referees in quickly identifying eligible receivers and understanding complex pre-snap formations, contributing to the fluidity of the game. The rigid numbering system often proved challenging for players transitioning from college who might have worn any number, preventing them from retaining their preferred digits in the NFL. For many years, it was highly uncommon, almost unheard of, to see a wide receiver wear a single-digit number, such as number 3, a concept that defied the established positional norms. Then, in 2021, the NFL made a significant and surprising move, largely relaxing its long-standing jersey number regulations. This landmark change now permits wide receivers, defensive backs, running backs, and linebackers to wear single-digit numbers, a stark departure from decades of tradition. Players have actively and enthusiastically embraced these relaxed rules, with many prominent figures opting for single-digit numbers, revitalizing their on-field identity. This change has, however, led to some interesting visual effects, with defenders sometimes appearing like agile return specialists due to their newly adopted jersey numbers, blurring traditional visual cues. Predictably, some older generation fans have openly expressed disapproval of the new jersey number flexibility, lamenting the departure from what they considered sacrosanct tradition. Yet, the NFL undeniably benefits from these relaxed rules, primarily through a notable increase in jersey sales, demonstrating a clear commercial upside. This relaxation of number rules skillfully balances traditional positional identification with modern player preferences and their burgeoning marketability. The previous restrictions, while seemingly arbitrary to some, were primarily implemented for operational clarity, greatly simplifying game management for officials. The current shift reflects a deliberate concession to player individuality and their marketing potential, a strategy that often resonates powerfully with a younger, more contemporary fan base. The increased jersey sales provide concrete evidence of the commercial incentive behind allowing more player choice in uniform aspects. Ultimately, the change in jersey number rules stands as a very recent and compelling example of the NFL's ongoing adaptation of its long-standing traditions to contemporary trends and the powerful force of player branding. The football field has always been a place of constant evolution, from the strategies deployed to the equipment worn by those who play the game. Decades ago, one striking piece of equipment stood out: the one-bar face mask, characterized by a single curved metal bar that stretched across the helmet. This design, while simple, offered notably minimal protection to players' faces, as a fist could literally fit through the opening, exposing much of the wearer to impact. Despite this clear lack of robust facial protection, many players actively preferred the one-bar face mask, particularly punters and kickers, who greatly valued its completely unobstructed vision. Specialists such as Gary Anderson and Steve Christie continued to utilize the single-bar face mask well into the 1990s, showcasing a personal preference over newer designs. Even legendary quarterback Joe Theismann famously wore a one-bar face mask for a period of his illustrious career. However, a pivotal moment arrived when Joe Theismann's career-ending leg injury, suffered during a nationally televised game at the hands of Lawrence Taylor, prompted the NFL to deeply reevaluate not just specific equipment, but also overall player safety standards. Even though his injury was unrelated to facial protection, this broader concern for player welfare led to significant changes. In 2004, the NFL officially banned the one-bar face mask for all new players entering the league, a definitive step towards better protection. Yet, recognizing the strong preferences of veteran players, those already using the one-bar face mask prior to the ban were grandfathered in, allowed to continue wearing it until their careers concluded. Scott Player, an Arizona Cardinals punter, became the last NFL player to wear a one-bar face mask, continuing its use until his retirement in 2009. His continued presence with the archaic equipment made him appear distinctly anachronistic on the field, a living connection to a bygone era. Upon Scott Player's retirement in 2009, the one-bar face mask was permanently retired from active play in the NFL, marking the end of its active professional use. Today, the one-bar face mask is primarily a historical artifact, appearing in vintage media or preserved in sports museums. A testament to a different time, the ban on this equipment was a significant move towards enhancing player safety by ensuring more comprehensive facial protection for athletes. Thiesmann's injury, while not directly tied to the face mask, spurred a broader, league-wide re-evaluation of equipment safety. The grandfather clause allowed for a gradual phase out of the equipment, balancing the imperative for safety improvements with established player comfort and preference. This evolution of face mask design highlights the continuous, iterative effort to improve player protection as our understanding of injury mechanisms advances. Another fascinating chapter in equipment regulation centers on the football itself. Historically, NFL teams were responsible for providing and conditioning their own game footballs, a practice that led to a surprising amount of customization. Teams would often manipulate footballs by scuffing, softening, or even slightly deflating them to make them easier for their quarterbacks to throw, for receivers to catch, or for running backs to grip. Quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady were particularly known for their specific, almost ritualistic preferences in preparing game balls, seeking that perfect feel. This practice came crashing into the spotlight during the infamous Deflategate scandal. This controversy erupted during the 2014 AFC Championship game, where Tom Brady and the New England Patriots were accused of using underinflated footballs, which could potentially offer a competitive advantage. The New England Patriots organization was investigated extensively in connection with Deflategate, drawing national attention and scrutiny. Ultimately, Tom Brady received a suspension as a result of the Deflategate investigation, a major penalty for a star player. The NFL reacted with significant concern to Deflategate, with many in the league likening its severity and implications to the Watergate scandal for professional footballs. Following Deflategate, the NFL implemented a stringent set of new rules regarding game balls to prevent any future manipulation. Currently, every single game ball is checked, logged, and delivered directly by the league itself, centralizing control. Each team now receives a pre-approved batch of footballs just before game time, effectively preventing any team-level manipulation or doctoring beforehand. Rubbing, doctoring, or any unauthorized alteration of game balls is now strictly prohibited under these new regulations. Modern quarterbacks still seek a broken-in feel for their footballs, but they must achieve this within the established league rules and without illicit means. Violations of the current game ball rules can lead to severe penalties, including extensive investigations that disrupt team operations. Deflategate brought unprecedented scrutiny to the preparation of game equipment, effectively revealing a loophole in previous regulations that allowed for manipulation. The new rules ensure a standardized playing field for all teams, eliminating any potential competitive advantage from ball alteration. The league's interventions centralized control over game equipment, removing a long-standing practice of team customization that had once been commonplace. Ultimately, the scandal highlighted the profound importance of fair play and the integrity of the game's equipment in all professional sports. Beyond equipment, the game itself has seen its share of creative plays that were eventually deemed too much. The fumble rescue was one such trick play, a genuinely chaotic and often effective maneuver. In this play, the quarterback would intentionally place the ball on the ground, creating a planned fumble. Another player would then quickly scoop up the fumbled ball and run in an unexpected direction, while defenders were often left pursuing the perceived original ball carrier, completely fooled by the deception. The play was characterized as sneaky, unpredictable, and certainly exhilarating when it worked. A particularly notable instance of the fumble rescue occurred in the 1984 Orange Bowl, where Nebraska successfully executed it for a touchdown, showcasing its devastating potential. However, the NFL observed the fumble rescue and subsequently deemed it too dangerous and unpredictable for professional play, especially given the increased speed and physicality of the league. The league responded by rewriting its rulebook specifically to prohibit the fumble rescue. Under these revised rules, any planned fumble or forward fumble cannot be advanced by anyone other than the original ball carrier, effectively removing the trick element. An exception exists if the planned fumble or forward fumble occurs behind the line of scrimmage, though the spirit of the rule remains clear. This rule change effectively banned both explicit fumble ruskies and any accidental drops with a pre-planned recovery strategy ensuring genuine fumbles. The intention behind the revised rule is that any fumble advanced by a player other than the original ball carrier must be a genuine, unplanned drop, emphasizing the league's commitment to integrity. The NFL's decision to ban the fumble rusky was based on concerns about player safety and the inherent unpredictability it introduced to the game, as players often dove into chaotic piles. While the play's success in college demonstrated its potential to disrupt defenses, in the faster-paced NFL, it was deemed too risky for widespread implementation. The rule modification explicitly distinguishes between an accidental fumble, which is part of the game, and a deliberately executed trick play designed to appear as a fumble. The ban ultimately reflects the NFL's preference for regulated, predictable gameplay over highly deceptive and potentially dangerous trick plays. The fumble rusky therefore remains a part of football lore, an example of a creative strategy that was ultimately deemed unsuitable for the professional league, living on only in highlights and memory. The National Football League, in its quest for total control over the game's presentation, even dictates the reflectivity of a player's footwear. Rules compel players to remove cleats if officials deem them too shiny or overly reflective, citing the prevention of distraction due to excessive glare as the stated reason for this specific ban. Prominent athletes like Odell Beckham Jr. and Cam Newton have famously encountered issues because of their choice in reflective cleats, showcasing the league's strict enforcement. Odell Beckham Jr. once sported custom cleats so luminous they appeared chrome, a striking visual statement quickly curtailed. During halftime, officials directly informed him that he would be barred from rejoining the game if he did not promptly change his dazzling footwear. This regulation extends beyond mere color to the material composition of the cleats themselves, ensuring adherence to the league's visual standards. Even cleats endorsed by major sports brands like Nike or Adidas must still conform to the NFL's precise aesthetic guidelines, which effectively act as a visual code designed to prevent any player equipment from drawing more attention than the league's own official logo. The NFL permits the spectacular, such as breathtaking one-handed touchdowns, yet it simultaneously restricts players from achieving such feats while wearing iridescent or otherwise attention-grabbing footwear. This nuanced rule plainly underscores the league's unwavering commitment to meticulously controlling the overall visual presentation of its games and its players. The ban on reflective cleats explicitly prioritizes a standardized aesthetic, valuing it over individual player expression conveyed through footwear choices. The active enforcement of such a specific, detailed rule, even against high-profile figures like Beckham Jr. and Newton, emphatically highlights the extraordinary level of control the NFL maintains over every facet of player attire. The justification of preventing distraction fundamentally suggests a desire to keep the focus firmly fixed on the game itself, rather than allowing individual fashion statements to overshadow the collective spectacle. Beyond controlling the appearance of equipment, the NFL exercises significant power over not only what players wear, but also precisely which brands produce their equipment. Any attempts by players to introduce non-NFL approved brands or foreign logos into the league's advertising space will invariably result in a costly flag and an accompanying fine. This policy became a particularly contentious issue in the mid-2010s as players began to cultivate stronger personal brands. Marshawn Lynch, for instance, faced penalties for wearing Beast Mode branded cleats, which represented his personal brand and were not officially sanctioned by Nike or the league itself. Similarly, Cam Newton incurred penalties for wearing Under Armour visors while playing for a team explicitly sponsored by Nike, illustrating the league's stringent enforcement of brand exclusivity. A poignant example occurred in 2015 when William Gay was fined over $5,000 for wearing purple cleats, intended to honor domestic violence awareness. Gay's fine was issued not because of the cause itself, but because the purple cleats were worn during the wrong weeks for league-sponsored awareness initiatives and were not part of an officially approved campaign. The NFL's strict adherence to approved branding clearly demonstrates its resolute protection of its billion-dollar advertising partnerships, prioritizing these commercial interests and sponsored brands over individual player endorsements or social statements not directly aligned with official league campaigns. The incident involving William Gay underscores a fundamental conflict between player-initiated social awareness and the league's highly structured, commercialized approach to such messaging. These numerous rules emphasize the NFL's formidable position as a major commercial entity, possessing extensive control over its brand image and its marketplace presence. The consistent application of fines serves as a powerful deterrent, effectively ensuring widespread compliance with exclusive brand contracts and the league's comprehensive uniform policies. The NFL also navigates a complex and often contradictory relationship with trash talk and player expressions of emotion on the field. While the league frequently features compelling mic'd-up moments and actively promotes rivalries as part of its entertainment package, specific actions deemed taunting are met with immediate penalties. The taunting rule levies a 15-yard penalty for actions such as pointing a finger at an opponent or staring for an excessive duration after a tackle, a regulation that has been a long-standing fixture within the NFL's rulebook. In 2021, the NFL notably intensified its enforcement of the taunting rule, leading to a visible crackdown on celebratory displays. Actions like flexing over an opponent, waving goodbye after a pick-six interception, or even simply spinning the ball after securing a first down became subject to these penalties. The stricter enforcement quickly led to the taunting rule becoming a widely discussed topic and even a popular meme among fans, who perceived players as being flagged for simply existing with too much confidence. Critics, including many fans and even veteran commentators, widely condemned the increased enforcement, often voicing concerns that the league was going too far in stifling player personality. The NFL attempted to justify its enhanced taunting rules by citing the paramount importance of sportsmanship, a concept it frequently promotes. However, critics argue that the taunting rule was far more concerned with the NFL controlling its public image and overall optics than with genuine sportsmanship. This approach by the league often appears contradictory. It will readily fine players for taunting, while simultaneously using highlight reels of those very same moments for promotional purposes and entertainment. The taunting rule fundamentally reflects the NFL's ongoing struggle to balance the raw passion and competitive fire inherent in the game with its notions of decorum and control. The 2021 crackdown generated significant debate about the true nature of sportsmanship in a high-stakes professional environment, and the enforcement often appears subjective, frequently leading to inconsistencies and palpable frustration among players and fans alike. Another seemingly minor but medically significant regulation involves tinted visors, which are commonly observed in college and high school football but have been largely banned in the NFL for decades. The primary reason for the prohibition on dark visors is player safety. Specifically, the critical need for medical trainers to observe a player's eyes immediately after a hit. Eye movement, including pupil dilation and nystagmus, serves as a crucial indicator for evaluating potential concussions or other serious head injuries. Blacked-out visors obstruct this vital visibility, making it impossible for trainers to accurately assess a player's eyes in a timely manner. Consequently, the NFL only permits dark visors if a player possesses a specific medical exemption, often granted for conditions like light sensitivity. Players are permitted to wear lightly tinted or clear visors, which many choose for stylistic preferences, but any visor that is too reflective, too dark, or excessively colored remains strictly prohibited. Both Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley, for example, have received warnings regarding the permissible tint of their visors. The ban on dark visors, while initially appearing restrictive, stands as a clear example of a rule directly tied to player health and safety protocols, rather than purely aesthetic concerns. This rule is widely considered fair once its compelling player safety rationale is fully understood, aligning with standard medical procedures for concussion assessment. The NFL's unwavering position prioritizes rapid and accurate medical assessment over any player aesthetic preferences, even if it means sacrificing some personal style. The enforcement applies universally, even to prominent players, demonstrating the consistent application of these vital safety rules. The regulation of visor tint highlights the league's detailed approach to player equipment, which is consistently informed by health considerations. The NFL also meticulously regulates the size and placement of towels worn by players, a detail often overlooked by casual observers. Player towels must strictly adhere to specific length and width dimensions, ensuring a uniform appearance across the league. Additionally, these towels must be positioned in a designated spot on the player's uniform and cannot be modified in any way, preventing any creative alterations. Historically, players would sometimes tuck towels in ways that allowed defenders to grab them like flags or handles, creating an unintended safety hazard and potential competitive advantage. Some players previously experimented with soaking towels with water or mud, attempting to manipulate grip or interfere with opponents, while others donned extra long towels for dramatic or expressive effect. The league implemented its current rules specifically to address these various issues, maintaining control over the game's integrity and presentation. Currently, all player towels must be league-issued, ensuring standardization and preventing unauthorized materials. These towels must be belted in the front of the uniform, preventing them from hanging loosely or being easily grabbed. The precise dimensions for towels are strictly enforced, leaving no room for individual interpretation. These rules aim to prevent towels from being utilized as a competitive advantage or an unnecessary distraction and, crucially, to enhance players' safety by eliminating grabbing opportunities. The specific regulation of towel size vividly illustrates the minute details the NFL controls within its comprehensive uniform policy. The rule against using towels to alter grip or interfere with opponents highlights the league's consistent efforts to maintain fair play and prevent unconventional or manipulative tactics. The dramatic effects justification for banning extra long towels directly ties into the NFL's broader control over player presentation and celebrations, ensuring that attention remains on the game itself. The requirement for league-issued towels guarantees standardization and effectively eliminates any possibility of unauthorized modifications. The towel rule, though seemingly minor, perfectly reflects the league's thorough approach to equipment regulation for both safety and image control. The NFL's exhaustive list of minor bans and regulations extends even further into the granular details of player appearance and equipment, showcasing an almost obsessive level of control. For instance, emoji mouthguards, such as one famously worn by Odell Beckham Jr. featuring a tongue sticking out, are completely banned. Similarly, any writing, including inspirational Bible verses, personal shoutouts, or catchy phrases on eye black is strictly prohibited, ensuring a neutral canvas beneath players' eyes. Hoodies worn under pads are banned if the hood hangs out the back, preventing a sloppy appearance. Though a distinction is made for coaches like Bill Belichick, who are permitted to wear such items on the sidelines. Illegal equipment placement, such as wearing pants too high above the knee, exposing an excessive amount of skin, consistently results in fines, enforcing a standardized uniform aesthetic. Even unauthorized captains' patches require teams to submit them for approval, with any unapproved patches being banned. Maintaining official endorsement. These numerous examples collectively demonstrate the NFL's extensive list of minor bans and regulations governing every single aspect of player appearance and equipment. These lightning-round examples further emphasize the granular level of control the NFL exerts over every facet of a player's on-field presentation, leaving nothing to chance. These bans often reflect a deep-seated desire for uniformity, enhanced safety, or to prevent any unauthorized messaging and branding from appearing on the field. The distinction between coaches' attire, like Belichick's iconic hoodie, and players' attire highlights different regulatory standards applied to various roles within the league. The consistent fines associated with these seemingly minor infractions serve as a highly effective and consistent enforcement mechanism, ensuring widespread compliance